Hey guys, how's it going? So what I want to talk about in this tutorial is how you can get panoramic images from Lumion, keeping all of the effects. Now, I guess a small disclaimer is you can't actually do it in Lumion. You do need to use two free softwares. One of them is the ICE Image Composite Editor from Microsoft. What that is going to be able to do is just stitch all of our images together, because effectively what we're going to be doing is we're not going to be going into the panorama mode down here. We're going to be using the photo mode, and in the photo mode we're just going to print off a bunch of images and kind of like take an image, maybe move like 20 degrees, take another image, and we're going to do that maybe 40 times. And then we're going to be able to take all of those, put them together, and when they're together, they're going to have all the effects on it. I think that the way Lumion makes the panoramas is kind of similar to this in a way. They'll basically say like, okay, if you're standing here, then take images in all these directions. So I'm not completely sure why you can't use Skylight and Hyperlight, which is if those two were in there, I would say just use the Lumion version. But because you can't get Skylight and it's so important to just giving the realistic effect to your scenes, I do think that this is a superior method. That being said, though, this method is kind of more tedious and it's harder to set up. So if you were doing maybe 10 panoramas for a client, I would say it's probably better just to use the Lumion ones. And, you don't, if you're doing 10 of them, you don't need them to be perfect. But if you are just going to do maybe one panorama for a client, like sort of like in their backyard, showing them what a pool is going to look like, kind of like this scene, which is why I picked this as an example, then I think that this method is a lot better. Another drawback to this is that it doesn't work very well if you're in an enclosed space. Like if you're right against a wall, the image editor has a hard time kind of stitching the images together because it can't really tell where they're all supposed to meet. But when you're out in the open like this, it's no problem. So what you want to do is you want to start off by going into photo mode. Now, I've already gone through and taken all these photos just so you can kind of see. You're only going to need, at least for the time being, I would just throw on a style on one of them and then make the adjustments that you want to make. You will have to copy and paste this to every single image, which is kind of part of the reason why it's annoying, but it'll be worth it in the end. So as you can see, I'm just going through and I'm taking, just some quick images of all of these. Going around in a circle, I typically go kind of at eye level. Then I go up in the sky, I take some photos there and then down onto the ground and start looking there. And you can, what's nice about this method is that if there's an area that maybe doesn't have enough detail and you need more images, you can just go into Lumion, print off a few in that area and then put them in the image editor and it'll stitch together no problem. So once you've kind of done that, and I would expect you to get about, as I said, 40 images. So you may need more, you may need a little bit less, but I think 40-ish is a pretty good area to, I guess, kind of aim for. So what we can do is we can go in here, go to the style. And as I said, you're just going to fix it up all you want. If you want to turn on Skylight, this does take longer, but I think it's worth it. Maybe you want to crank up the exposure a little bit. We'll just throw a little bit of sharpen on, real skies, change the heading to whatever you need to show. I think it's like, I had it somewhere over here. Yeah, so that's fine. But yeah, you just kind of do whatever you're feeling. I typically turn off depth of field, even though I don't think with this style there was that much on it. So you don't need to worry too much about that. But yeah, so then you come up to menu, hit edit, copy effects, and then you have to go through and copy and paste every single one, unfortunately. Maybe there's a way to mass apply it. I haven't been able to figure that out. But yeah, so you just go through there and then the effect shouldn't be changing. Like while the angle of the camera should be changing, nothing else is with the style. So there won't be any different shadows. There won't be any different, even if you have like birds in the sky and stuff like that, they're not going to be moving while you're in this mode. So all of that works. Two effects that I would recommend you don't use though. One, as I said, is depth of field. It's not like, I don't think it's kind of worth trying to make that stuff all work because while I think you could technically get it to work, I think it's more trouble than it's worth. And the other one is, I believe, called Vignette. It's the one that kind of adds like a white or black sort of like a fade out effect on the corners of your image. You don't want that, because it's if we're stitching them all together, you don't want there to be like almost a black border around it, because then the image editor won't be able to determine where everything is kind of meshing together. So yeah, once you do that, you have to render them out. It is probably, depending on your computer, going to take you a bit of time. I might even recommend that you just print out the raw photos in the photo roll first, and then try going through it with the image editor this way, because you'll know what other images you have to take, or if things aren't looking right. It's just going to take a longer time to go with the style. So I would kind of make sure that everything is working first, no problem. But yeah, so once you do that and you have all your images, then you should have like a folder, looks kind of like this. So as you can see through, like I just kind of took a bunch of pictures all around. And these are, as I said, these are just the raw ones. I haven't edited them with Lightroom or anything like that. I did do them all individually just to test some stuff out. But I think the best thing to do is actually get the image together first. And then if you want to bring it into another photo editor, which if you have it, I highly recommend doing, like Photoshop and Lightroom. With my Lumion, part of the reason also that I don't like using it is because you can't take that image into an external software, which for the images I'm giving to clients, it's almost all of them are edited in Photoshop or Lightroom. Even if you just go in and hit the auto button, it's just always going to, clean up the image a lot. And I think that is a really important thing to do. So this is also kind of a perk of doing it this way, is that you can have much more control over the editing and how the final product is going to look. So yeah, once you have the raw images, we're going to go to the ice. Now I put the link down below. It's a very easy download. That's why I didn't kind of go through and explain it. I just went to the version that I needed. I put like just Windows 64-bit. I clicked on it, and then it just kind of installed, no problem. It's a pretty small software, but yeah. So if you've downloaded it, you're at this part, no problem. Then you're going to want to hit new panorama from images. So in this I have, no, that's not the one I want. I want the raw. Okay. So we're going to select all of these and open. Now I purposely left out 2 images because I wanted to show you the effect that it has of like when there's a certain area you didn't take enough photos of. So this may take, like 30 seconds to, or maybe even like a minute just to kind of stitch it all together. So what's really cool about this is that you don't have to align it. With other software, you actually have to go in and say like where they're all the kind of like the photos are going to intersect. That can take a lot of time. It can be kind of frustrating, but this one, you just dump all the photos in, and as long as they line up, then it's going to be able to sort of align everything and make sure that it can make a panorama out of it. What's also a really cool effect with ice is that it has an autocomplete feature. So if you whether you take real photos with a camera or you're just doing the Lumion photos, if there's just an area that you can't fill for some reason, like maybe it's not cooperating with you, you can just hit autocomplete. And while I don't recommend using it on a huge area, if there are just kind of spots like this, then it can really help sort of fill that in, no problem. So you also don't want to move this up or down because that will kind of mess with the horizon line. So once it's in here, this is this is fine. Now, as I was saying with these spots, you can either go back and add these 2 images back in, and then you're going to get those areas like kind of taken care of, or you can just click through here. And I just mentioned too, I use spherical. I don't think it matters. Like, different softwares, I guess, use different forms of panoramas. Kuula, which is the other thing I want to show you, uses spherical. So for now, let's just click next, and you're going to have this. And if you hit autocomplete, this only takes, a couple seconds, but yeah, it's not perfect. You can kind of see where the line is, but I think it's passable. And so, I would recommend putting the images in if you have them, but if it's not, the autocomplete is more than fine. Something else I want to point out as well is that if you see the pixels here, so the pixels, this is I guess it's like a 7K image. So it's the ratio for Kuula. It has to be greater than 2 to 1. So if your width to height ratio is like 1.99, then Kuula isn't going to recognize it as a panorama. It's going to recognize it as just a regular still photo, and then it's only going to show you basically like what you see on the screen in the image editor. That's what you're going to get. So moving to the next. This is just kind of your personal preference. You can just do JPEG. I normally just put it on like Superb, and then I find that there's not too much of a difference with it. But if you really just want the uncompressed version, just use PNG. It's no big deal. So yeah, we'll export it to the disk. I'll just say it's like Tor. Now I've already got some photoshopped images, so I'm probably going to use that one. This is the final version that I'm going to use in Kuula. But just quickly, I'll open up Lightroom. Oh, this is from, I was just doing the example. So we'll just delete this though. And I'll show you how easy it is if people are unfamiliar with this. You can just open it up, and then you just add the photo. You just hit auto, and then that's it. And you just come up here and you go to export. And you don't want to do, you have to make sure that it does it at its native resolution, because you don't want to lose any pixels, since it's with the panorama, like even for like a 6,000 or 7,000 width photo, then that is even kind of pushing it. Like you want something that's probably closer to 8, but for this, it's not going to be a problem. So we'll export that. And then you should be at a spot where you have your edited panorama. It shouldn't have any black spots on it. And why is this not opening now? But yeah, so the next thing we'll do is we will go to Kuula.com. So as I've said, this is probably one of my favorite softwares, I think, when it comes to ArcViz. So these are kind of like a mix between drone shots and renders. These are just the Explore page, but I really recommend kind of checking it out and getting some inspiration. One of my favorite renders that I've seen is actually this one. It's in 3ds Max and Corona, I think, but really nice job on that one. To Dima, I think the person's name is. So yeah, really great job there. But yeah, just explore, maybe find some inspiration. Kuula does have the version that I'm going to get you guys to download. It is free. Well, I guess you're not downloading it, but you're signing up for an account that is free. The Kuula Pro is only $12 a month, but you get a lot of really cool features with it. So if you do start using kind of like the free version, I would recommend that you get the Pro version. I think that this one is only, I think I'm only on the free version right now. My business partner has the full version, I believe. But anyways, yeah, so we'll go into, you just go over to the menu here and you go to My Tours. And then you can access all of the stuff that you have made already. But if you want to make one, then you just come up here and create it. So yeah, you just go here, go select images. And I believe this was the one that I did. So yeah, it uploads pretty quickly. You just make a Tor name, call it Tor. We'll post the image. And then the Tor is ready. So this is what you get. There are a couple quick things you can do in here. So it's got something called the sun effect, which I think is really cool. Let me move this out of the way here. I'll move this down here for now. But so it's got the sun effect. So you click that, and then it kind of works sort of like, I guess, giving it like increasing the highlights. Like it makes the area where the sun actually is brighter. All the whites in this area get a little brighter, but it also adds this kind of cool lens flare effect if you want that in there. So not only does it brighten it up, but it also gives this kind of this like, I guess, this effect when you go by it. And I really like it. I think that just sort of adds kind of another layer to it. And I also just turn the sharpness up to like 7% because I find that kind of gives the best effect. And you will have to play around with this a bit. Sometimes the sometimes the image stitching doesn't want to play nice, and you kind of have to go to like a slightly different location. The other thing I'd recommend is that if you're doing it with and there's a blank wall, just throw some random photos or even just a plant in front of it, just to kind of give the software sort of an idea of where it has to go. Yeah, and if you get the free version of, or sorry, if you get the full version of Kuula, you can put like a floor plan in, so you can actually click around the floor plan. I don't know what the limit is on how many panoramas you can have in one tour, but I do know that if you do this, maybe you make like 6 different panoramas with Lumion, then you can put them all in here. And something that I guess is worth mentioning is that if you have an outdoor scene like this that you need all the effects and you really want to have that panorama be better than the others, you know, you can come in here and you can do what we just did, put it into Kuula, but then you can come into Lumion and maybe you can set up like another quick panorama and, you know, maybe go inside. And this one doesn't have to be as nice because you're just kind of, you know, showing off some of the interior. So then you'd render this one out. And if you don't send it to my Lumion, you just render out the actual photo at like 8K or something like that, then you can put that in here with Kuula as well. And so while they may have a slightly different look to them because you use styles in, I guess, the good one, it is worth, I guess, just having that kind of in your arsenal to, you know, to bring out to clients if you ever do need kind of an, I guess, like a high resolution panorama. What you can also do too is if you find that this is looking like it's a little bit sort of stretched and you want a higher resolution, I believe that what you can do is you can just print out higher resolution photos from Lumion, and then if you bring that into ICE, it will stitch those larger ones together into something that maybe is like over 10K. I haven't tested that, but I believe I read that, so if it doesn't work, don't blame me on that, but I do believe that will work. So yeah, that is the conclusion of the video today. It's a little bit shorter than usual. I do want to play around with some other, I guess, virtual tour features in Kuula, because as I said, I was really excited when I found this because it's actually pretty hard, in my opinion, to find a software that correctly maps the 360 images. Like, as you can see here, if you look up, there's basically no distortion as to where it all kind of goes together, and if you look down, there's none. It goes really well like that. And I think I downloaded like 10 plus softwares looking for a way that I could remove that, because what most people do is they just kind of slap their logo over the bottom, or the company that they're doing the work for, their logo. I really don't like that. I find that it kind of ruins, I guess, the effect. But yeah, I've had no problems with Kuula, and it's probably one of the most. It is, I think, the cheapest one out of any of them, but you get the most bang for your buck. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it off there. Let me know in the comments below if this was able to help you out. If you have any suggestions for future videos, please just comment below. I don't mind kind of trying to help you solve a problem if you're running into any issues with that. All I ask is that if I helped you out at any time, that you'll subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tune in for some of my future content. So yeah, have a great night, guys, and I will see you in the next video.